Welcome, Self-Made Nation, to the Cash Rich Exit podcast. I'm Colleen O'Connell-Campbell, wealth advisor at RBC Dominion Securities, and your host. This one is for every entrepreneur who has ever sat quietly with that big loaded question, is it time? Today's guest got all the way to 1 week before closing the sale of her company, and she walked away. Jennifer Stewart is the founder and CEO of Syntex Strategic, a nationally recognized strategic communications and public affairs firm that she built for over 15 years right here in Ottawa. It is a powerhouse business, and so is she. She's also the founder of The Honest Talk and the co-owner of Ottawa Valley Grain Products, a board director for organizations including Micropic Biosystems and the Ottawa Hospital Foundation. Jennifer's story is one of the most compelling I've come across because she didn't just consider an exit, she was at the exit and she chose a different door. If you've ever wondered if you're truly ready to sell or whether you might just need a reset, this conversation, it's for you. It's going to hit home. And if today's conversation, if the episode today sparks anything for you when you're thinking about your own personal financial future, I'd love to connect with you one-on-one. But now let's meet Jennifer. Well, hello, Jennifer. Welcome to the Cash Rich Exit podcast. So glad you could join me.
Hi, Colleen. Thrilled to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Of course, you have a great story, and frankly, I've been wanting to get you on here in some way, shape, or form anyway.
Aw,
Yeah,
fun. Well, we're
yeah,
here now.
we're here now. And I was thinking back to when we first met, and I think it really was in like the first year or two of when you set up shop under,
Yeah.
under your own name kind of thing, right?
Yes.
In the very, very beginning.
It's a long time ago. Yeah, I was operating under JS Communications. It wasn't that long ago now, 17 years, so long enough. And I was a baby and I was trying to figure out, how do you manage business growth with hiring, with, networking in your community? And it was a heavy load for any entrepreneur, but, a necessary load that every new entrepreneur goes through as they start to navigate the growth of their business.
And then imagine, fast forward to somewhat recently, what was happening in your life? Like, we're just going to go in there. We're just going to dive in there.
We're just
What
gonna
was
dive
happening?
right in.
Yeah, what was happening that made you seriously consider selling this enterprise that you started from, your name and a phone book, we'll
Yep.
say.
I was gonna joke and say perimenopause, but maybe that isn't a total joke.
No.
I received an email, and I've had kind of these emails over the years that somebody wants to purchase your business, but this one was legitimate from a brokerage out of New York City, and somebody had done a scan of the Canadian marketplace and was looking for kind of a small to medium-sized organization with strong retainers, strong government contracts. And they'd shortlisted us. So, I entertained a conversation, and it was the first time, and this was a little naive. It's funny how business grows you as a person, right? And also your
Mm,
mindset as a business owner. I was a little naive to the fact that you could sell a service-based business, which now I laugh at. So I didn't actually entertain that deal because it wasn't the right fit. And the broker said, well, let's do an evaluation of what your company is worth more than what I thought it was, because again, I was quite naive. And then we went to market, and within 2 weeks of being on the market, I was in discussions with the buyer, had a non-disclosure signed, and had started due diligence. So it was kind of fast and furious and wasn't intentional, and one thing kind of led to the other. And yeah, that's how I ended up there. Not intentionally, Colleen.
not intentionally. Well, and I'm so glad you're here talking about it because part of the premise of the podcast, the Cash Rich Exit podcast, is to really help the CEO, founder, business owner
Yeah.
community think intentionally about building their business as a true asset and think
Yeah,
about an intentional exit, whatever that might be that works for you.
totally. And it totally, I'm so grateful for the experience because it redefined how I look at my business, how I monitor my
Hmm.
balance sheet, my profit and loss, how I assess my adjusted EBITDA, and also how I'd be far if I do approach this again. And right now I'm not in that headspace, but if I do approach it again, um, I would be far more methodical and far more confident in the value of my business. What
Mm-hmm.
it did was it made me a far more confident business owner in understanding that I've built this asset. It is valuable. I jumped in with the first prospective buyer, and there was a few others that were interested in just a week's time. So a huge lesson to take the control back. I was almost of the mindset, oh gosh, they want to buy me. This is great, and I can have a payday, and
Mm-hmm.
much more. I'm much less naive and ignorant to that now. Where if I do approach that again, and every business is up for sale, right? It's just what's the price. At some point, if I do approach it again, then I'd be far more methodical and far more intentional in how I negotiate, how I know my value, and how we get to the end. However, it also reset my thinking as an entrepreneur. I'm 41. My 30s, I was raising two young kids and balancing a business, and my children were always my top priority. So I'm just now thinking I'm getting started, if I'm being honest with you. So my mindset now is let's grow this, let's view it as an asset, let's treat people well as we grow, and let's make an impact. And let's reassess and at age 50 or see what different structures could look like.
Well, that was going to be my one of my questions here was now that you have decided to keep the business, you're growing,
Yep.
and what has changed? As I understand, you've opened a Vancouver office,
Yeah.
kind of doubled down on your access in the government.
Mhm.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about some of the things that have developed since you said no, like
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
staying and I'm growing.
The power of saying no, and it was a really, really, really hard decision. The
Mhm.
power of saying no meant that I said yes to a lot more things. It really lit a fire. I said yes to, and this could be reverse engineered, having the right team. So we made some adjustments to the team. I said yes to expansion. I said yes to thinking big in terms of retainers and work with government and what we were going to pursue. And I said yes to that. This is a passion of mine, but I put up some significant boundaries around my
Hmm.
time. And I realized a scalable business can't always have the CEO at every decision point, right? So I protect my, half mornings until about 10 a.m. I get a workout in. We've got far more methodical systems. And now I analyze my business in terms of are we chasing the types of clients we want to chase? Am I building something of wealth while treating my team well and not necessarily to sell it? Like right now, I will be honest with you, that's not my mindset whatsoever, but I'm looking at it differently. It's an asset. It's an asset whether it goes to future employees, whether it goes on the market, or whether I retire with it. So, how can I maximize this asset? And we don't talk about this enough as women. I like to make money. I like to make money through my business, through other means. I have two other businesses, and that's okay. So you need to have that mindset. This isn't, it's not a book club. It's not a social coffee shop. It's a for-profit business.
I love
And
that you're going there. I love that you're
I'm going
going
there.
there, right? Yeah, because we're not talking about it enough, and we're not talking about the practical pieces and the numbers enough,
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
right?
that's it. And now I know how to view my numbers through, okay, my multiple for an agency was, at the time kind of 4 to 5. That's changing because the shift to service-based business is changing in terms of how it's perceived by investors. It's actually becoming more valuable. So now I can look at my numbers not just in terms of my margin or my P&L. I can look at my numbers in terms of what is this asset worth? And then
Mhm.
also, I've done I think, a very good job of separating myself as a person from my business in terms of my mentality and what do I want as a person. And I think that's only a question I've started asking myself recently. And that's not to be boohoo me because I've loved the last 10 years. I've put everything else I had into my children and my partner. But now it's, there's a whole new period where my kids are going to be out of the house. I am committed to growing this business. I'm committed to my clients. And what else, as that grows, can I do for me? And a lot of those goals take wealth, they take planning, and they take being confident and a little unabashed in what you want out of life. We're only on this earth one time each, right? So let's make it count.
Exactly. Exactly. And so, how do you manage the keeping separate the honest talk, the green business that you own,
Yeah.
it's with your husband, right?
Yeah.
And in syntax, like how do
Yeah.
you, or do you, or on a practical
No,
day, it doesn't really matter. It's really just the books get separated.
I've had to be intentional. So I'm not going to lie, there's days where they all bleed together. But I've carved out one day a week for the Ottawa Valley Green. And I am in that business that day. And 8 hours of my time in a day, if it's efficient and I'm in the right headspace, is a lot of time. And
Mhm.
my husband's running that business day to day. And then the honest talk, I've got kind of a morning carved out where we meet with the team. We go through everything with my business partner, Catherine. And that ebbs and flows throughout the week. And so you just have to kind of relinquish control, put up sound boundaries so you do have perspective on things. But I'd say 75% of my business is in syntax, and I don't see that changing based on our growth trajectory. The Honest Talk, we've got a great team, we've got great leadership at Ottawa Valley Grain Products. So I'm really just coming in, looking at the numbers and providing strategic advice. I'm not in the weeds. And then what I do want to do is I want to continue to invest in businesses. I think that's, important in terms of where I want to play personally, but also potentially very advantageous professionally.
Mhm.
So, I find if you're the type of person that likes having a lot on the go at once, it's kind of just one more thing. And if you have got good instincts and you're confident enough to trust them, what's another business?
Well, because you've invested in the teams.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you've removed yourself or removing yourself, because maybe it
Yeah.
doesn't happen exactly overnight, but you remove yourself from all of the small decisions. There's a
Yeah.
broad overarching understanding, like the North Star, where everybody
Yeah.
is moving towards, and then it allows you to step out and do more.
Well, that's it. And you're failing as a business owner if you're in every decision point. There's the saying that you own a business or you work in a business if you're there
Hmm.
for 90% of the decisions. So I think it's empowering the team, but it's also hiring the right people. It's hiring slow, firing fast, and that sounds a little ruthless. But I remember having a team member many moons ago being like, well, I don't know why you're not in on this file. And it's like, well, because I have a payroll and you're competent, and that's why you should be there. So it's also shifting the mentality with
Hmm.
your team. And
Hmm.
my team very much has this mentality of like, you are little entrepreneurs. As our company grows, you will be treated well, you will have opportunity for advancement. But the funnel can't go like this up to me, or else we're never going to scale, we're never going to grow. And trust me, you're not going to be happy with me coming in and making every decision. So it's letting go, and it's letting go of any kind of perception from people that you're not doing enough, because what people don't
Hmm.
see when you own a
Hmm.
business is that it's never out of my mind. None of my businesses are. Like, you go to bed with it, you wake up with it. you know there's this meme on Instagram that as you get progressively more successful, you're just thinking and doing business in nicer places, and it's funny, but it's true. So it's
Hmm.
relinquishing control, and I am a recovered micromanager, so letting go of that tendency.
Oh, any tips?
It's really hard. Like, you could ask my COO, who's been with me a long time. I used to look over everything because, we were small. It was my name associated.
Hmm.
The tips are you have to have the right people, and if you don't, you need to make changes because you can't relinquish control if you don't trust your team. The other tips are you just have to be intentional. Like I remember being like, oh, I want to see this document, or oh, I think I could have nuanced that sentence. And it's like you have to let go, and you have to trust your team, and you have to very intentionally not step in. The other thing I've learned over my life is to compartmentalize. And it's trained. It's totally a neuroplasticity thing. When
Hmm.
I walk in the door, my phone goes down. I do check it because that's the nature of my business, but I don't check it frenetically because a lot of that is self-imposed, right? Where you come in and
Hmm.
you just scrolling for an update. When I'm home with my kids, I am with my kids. I am reading my son's comic book or out at the park with my daughter or hopping on a bike. And it's, I think business owners sometimes you can get a lot of flack for being too invested in their business, and it's really tempting. But at the end of the day, it's ultimately your decision where your attention lies.
Yeah. Well, and I think there was a really important word you used, which is trust.
Hmm.
Um, and I think it's, for me anyway, relating to what you're talking about, it's trusting others, but also trusting yourself that you've made the right
Totally.
decisions to bring certain people on. And well, if you can't trust yourself, you're going to have a really hard time trusting others, right?
Well, totally. And there's going to be moments of self-doubt. There's going to be hard decisions you have to make. Another huge thing for me in the growth of my business is honestly getting over being liked, right? As
Mm,
women, you want to be
mm,
liked, you want to be accepted. And when you're a CEO and you've got a lot of information other people don't to make decisions, you really just have to your point, Colleen, trust yourself, trust your instincts, trust your gut. And then also you have like, I don't know, I've got 200 decisions to make a day. You can't second guess yourself. Like I don't have the energy to second guess my decisions. I will make the energy if the decision was wrong and it's going to behoove me or my business to reanalyze it. But I'm
mhm.
not going to spend energy just second guessing decisions that I thought were good in the moment. And then you got to move forward and you have to live your life.
There's something about it's not so much about a decision being right or wrong. It's like committing to the decision.
Yeah,
So this is the path we've decided on. Now we just move forward because if
exactly.
you start doubting it, that's when things can really go sideways. And it's, you can have a what's the and I've seen this happen for myself. But you can again decide to take a certain action in the
Mhm.
business. Like I can decide I'm trying to think of an exact example, but you just decide, okay,
Yeah,
I'm going to start recording a podcast.
do it.
I'm gonna do it. Well, so many things could get in the way. And
Oh,
was
yeah.
it the right decision? I don't know, but I just keep
Well,
doing
that's
it, and
it.
then eventually it starts to work like the flywheel.
I am 1000% convinced the difference. I mean, there's lots of factors, but one of the main differences between a successful enterprise or business and an unsuccessful business is the owner's ability to stick to it. I really am. Like I think about the Honest Talk that Catherine and I founded in the pandemic. We are now seeing a lot of success. It's now a very viable business. We have employees. It's got a lot of potential, but it was a slog. We're recording podcasts. We launched a media site. We launched a women's summit. We launched a women's retreat. And it would have been easy to be like, okay, this was a great 2-year project to keep us busy during the pandemic. But to see success, you've got to stick with it. And my
Mhm.
business too. The amount of times throughout the years, early in my career, not now, but recruiters came to me and there was a job where you didn't have to earn your paycheck. And,
Mhm.
probably you could do the job with your eyes closed based on your capacity and what you've had to carry over the last few years. Like it's tempting, right? And betting on yourself and just keep going.
Now, there's something else that you mentioned, which was about further exploring how you can invest in businesses.
Yeah.
So, if I'm not mistaken, you've joined the Capital Angel Network. Is that
Yeah, I
right?
did. I
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
So, how's that going?
Well,
As
I'm
net,
doing.
because this is also a really big important piece when we're
Oh,
talking
it's
about
huge.
women investing. First of all, building businesses, but also
Yeah.
from the wealth of building that business, then investing in other businesses, and
Yeah.
where we can then, actually be powerful in our communities
Absolutely.
is choosing what businesses we're going to invest in and support. And further, again, it's a different flywheel.
Further enhance.
Mhm.
If I'm being honest, I love that organization. I have not, turned my attention to investing to the degree that I would like to because we've been kind of recalibrating its syntax and growth in the Honest Talk and Auto Valley Green products and navigating tariffs. So it's kind of a 2 to 5 year plan for me, right? If someone knocked on my door and said this business is incredible, I would be in the position to invest today. But I haven't given it my full attention at this point. And that's part of it too, though, honestly. Like that is, something not to be ashamed of as a business owner. But when you're the type of person that likes to probably bite off more than you can chew, you then need to prioritize,
Mhm.
right? And my priority right now is the growth of Syntax and taking that business to the next level and the Honest Talk. And then getting that to the level where I do have more free time to go to investor meetings, to hear pitches. And, well, somebody could say they're both successful today and walk away and do that. They're not, I
Mhm.
want bigger, I want better, and I'm not going to stop until we have it.
For those who are listening and they're wondering about, is it time for them? What do you wish someone had told you about this whole process that you've been through in the recalibration? Um, yeah.
Selling or starting a business?
Well, let's go with both since
Okay,
you're
starting a business, start yesterday. There's never a right time to start a business. There's always going to be something that comes up with a loved one or yourself, or a crisis of some sort. Start yesterday. I started at 25, and total accidental entrepreneur, didn't have a plan, but I'm so glad I started young. Selling a business. Give yourself some grace. I learned a ton of lessons. I'm really grateful I went through that process. But have a team around you that you trust. I had a great legal and accounting team around me throughout it. And, when I decided not to pursue it, they were super respectful and encouraging of that. And trust your gut. Trust your gut and listen to other people that have been through it. Listen to me. Don't, this is kind of crass, but don't jump into bed with the first offer, right? Like be
right.
intentional.
Hmm.
Take your time and as much as possible, train your brain not to second guess your worth because I've completely changed my perspective on, oh gosh, someone wants to buy me and I could retire versus, you know what? Worth it and probably worth more and let's see where I can take this.
Right. I mean, and let's talk about for a minute, because we kind of glossed over it, but the whole idea of over time, there are different priorities,
Yeah.
right? So it's, you talk about grace and intuition. You know, what is success is, in the moment, being finding that place where you feel like you have integrity about who you
Mhm.
are. So if right now that is building a base on which you can grow your business substantially later because the other priority is a young family,
Yeah.
then that's fine.
Yeah.
If it's, my priority is 100% in on the business, that's
Yeah.
okay too. I suspect you can relate to that idea.
100%. And there's different seasons, and you really
Mhm.
need to, if you don't have positive self-talk, you need to work on it because you can't give everything to everybody at all times. You need to be able to compartmentalize in terms of what needs your review and your energy. And you also need to quote Taylor Swift, you need to treat your energy as quite expensive. Like my energy and my time, I don't want it. It is sometimes, but not often. I don't want it completely depleted when I come home at night, right? Like you need to manage. I could be out at lunch every day of the week or coffees, and that's not to sound egotistical. That's just the world I live in. And it's, well, I've got to be doing the work too. And then I need some social battery to spend with my family when I get home. So you need to really focus on what's going to drive your business forward. Really focus on the people that matter for you. Because if the business poofed away tomorrow, I surely as heck hope I've invested in the people that would be there for me, regardless of whether that business is standing or not. And then also, and I'm just getting good at this, make some time for yourself.
Right. I mean, so overlooked, really,
So
making
overlooked.
time for yourself. Before the exit that didn't happen, were you taking mornings to for
No,
yourself and doing a
no,
workout and okay, so that's a new routine. Hmm.
totally new routine. Um, Totally new routine. No, I would like when my kids were young, and again, I don't regret any of it, but it just was the reality. It did get me where I am now. I'd wake up every day between 4:30 and 5. I would work from the couch with hair in a bun and my coffee, get ahead of the day. And keep in mind, there was a time where I didn't have an assistant. I was sending the invoices, right?
Hmm.
And then I'd wake up, I'd get my kids out the door, and then I'd work, and then I'd come home, we'd have dinner together, and then I'd work again. So, I was unhealthy, I was stretched thin, and I was tired. But I was also like, I want to be honest, I was doing what I needed to do to be where I am now, where I don't work that hard anymore, like as hard as I used to.
Smart. You're working smart. Let's
I'm working smart. I
yeah.
delegate. I'm taking care of myself. I've never felt better. I've never felt more confident in my team. So, as much as a lot of women would say that was a mistake, it was a bit of a necessary season to be in the season I'm in now. And, what I sacrificed was myself, but what I didn't sacrifice was my family or my business. So, I'd also flip that. Did I sacrifice myself, or was that just what I had to do?
Well, I mean, and that is a vicious circle of
Mhm.
conversation that you could have because
Totally.
how do you otherwise
Yeah.
build a business like you have today if you are
Yeah.
not expending all of that energy and putting in all of
Totally.
that time? Because otherwise, let's rewind the clock to, okay, I'm going to accept that role at the other
Yeah.
firm and
Yeah.
be somebody else's employee. Now, and
That's it.
that's not to say that that's not a route for some people, right?
Totally.
And
Not for
as
me
much,
though. Yeah.
no, exactly,
Yeah.
obviously, right? Because we're here talking about how
Yeah.
you almost sold and now you're doubling, tripling down on what you've created.
Yeah.
So we do need individuals who want to
Yeah.
come in and put in their time and contribute to our businesses. Because if we were all entrepreneurs, we can have an entrepreneurial spirit, but if we're all entrepreneurs, nobody who's going to do the
Yeah, I
work.
know it's fair. And I think it's also, I gave a talk this week, and it's a mindset shift. When you're a CEO or an entrepreneur, you have a lot of stress and a lot of burden and a lot of responsibility. And it's a mindset shift from transitioning, resenting that to understanding that's the price of financial success,
Mhm.
of freedom, and of growth. Like I've grown more as a business owner than I could ever imagine because of the decisions that you have to make. So I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I've reframed how I view it from kind of resentful to really proud. I'm really proud of what I've built.
And you should be. And
Thank you.
I'm so grateful that you're in my broader network here in Ottawa
Oh,
and that you've come and shared your story here on the Cash Rich Exit podcast. And although I feel like we maybe already you shared this, but I do like to ask for a piece of fun, frank advice for the self-made nation. What would you say, Jennifer?
bet on yourself first.
Oh, love it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. I always love chatting with you, and the podcast is fantastic, and it's a true delight to be on it.
Well, we're recording here at the end of June of 2026. And as my faithful listeners know, podcasts are batched together. So you're probably listening to this in September, and that's okay because that's how it needs to work when the operational business needs to be
Yeah,
taken care of too.
exactly.
But yeah, I'm hoping we'll have a few more conversations before we go live. But yeah, so glad that you're here, Jennifer.
That was great. Thank you so much.
What a conversation. I love chatting with Jennifer Stewart. But Jennifer came to the closing table, looked at the deal, and chose herself. She trusted her decision. She chose her purpose, her team, and a next decade of what's possible. And what I want you as a member of the Self-Made Nation to take away from today is that being exit ready and being ready to exit are not the same thing. Knowing the difference might be the most important thing that you do for your financial future. Every business owner will exit, and the question is whether you'll do it on purpose, on your terms, and with a plan with your own roadmap so that you can truly build the wealth that you want and you need. If today's conversation has you thinking about your own exit, about your own roadmap to a cash rich exit, I'd love to sit down with you for a one-on-one wealth gap analysis. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can reach out to me through email, colleen.campbell@rbc.com. And if you found today's episode insightful, please take a moment to leave a 5-star rating or review. It helps the show reach more founders, CEO, business owners, the self-made nation, who need to hear these messages and these stories. And reach out and follow Jennifer Stewart on LinkedIn. She's doing great things for the business community, for Ottawa community. There's a story there that is still not fully written. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching if you're on YouTube. I'm looking forward to welcoming you back again soon. I'm Colleen O'Connell-Campbell, Wealth Advisor at RBC Dominion Securities. TTFN, ta-ta for now. All opinions expressed by me and any guests are solely their own and do not reflect the opinion of RBC Dominion Securities. This content is for information purposes only. Before acting on anything you hear or see, consult a qualified professional. I'm a wealth advisor with RBC Dominion Securities, a member of the Canadian Investor Protection Fund.